Hello everyone and welcome to Sculpting Stylized Characters in Zbrush. So this is a beginner friendly course. However, if you are not familiar with the user interface of Zbrush, I also have my other class, Zbrush for Beginners, and I invite you to go and watch that class because if you're not familiar with the user interface and sculpting basics, that class goes over a lot of the inner workings of the program and it will help get you oriented and kind of just teach you a lot more about what Zbrush is capable of and kind of how to navigate it. It's kind of a strange interface, especially if you're not familiar with it. So I invite you again to go and watch that class if you have not already. But for those of you that are comfortable where you're at, or if you are already familiar with Zbrush, we're going to get started. And when you first open up Zbrush, the light box is already open, and I just selected a Dynamesh sphere under Project right here. So Project, Dynamesh sphere. So when you're sculpting, it's important to have a lot of different tools kind of set up in your user interface in a comfortable way. So we're going to get some of the buttons in menus and things and put them in places where we can access them quickly because that's going to save us a lot of time. So we're just going to go in here and dock these on our interface. So to do that, we actually have to go to Preferences, Config, and if you click Enable Customize, this allows you to open up any menu. And we can go down to any button in any of these menus, hold Control and Alt, and we can click and drag those buttons and we can dock them in any of the available spaces that are highlighted in white like that. So turn on Enable Customize. First thing I'm going to drag is I'm going to go into my geometry menu, go down to Dynamesh, and I'm going to hold Control and Alt and click and drag my Dynamesh up to here. Right below Dynamesh is the resolution slider, so I'm also going to put my resolution slider right here. I might as well just grab these buttons as well, the groups button and the polish button. Another super handy shortcut is if we go down to visibility, which is right here in the middle of the tool menu, and hide part and show part are extremely useful. So the hide part, click Control and Alt and drag that and hide that up here. And same thing, show part, I'm going to put that right here. And if we go back to our geometry menu and go to the modify topology menu, I'm going to grab the mirror and weld button and the delete hidden button and the close holes button. And if you're already familiar with Zbrush and you already know a lot of the shortcuts that you like to use, like in the subtool menu, there's a couple of good menus down here, like for merging and splitting, and you can take any of these and just dock them anywhere in the interface that you want. So if you want to have the duplicate button down here or any menu, you can put any button anywhere that you'd like. So let's say that you take a button and you place it here and you're like, well, I actually don't want that button, so I want to get rid of it. All you have to do is hold Control and Alt, click and drag it into your canvas, and it will disappear. Also, another thing to note is that on the left side, there's this other divider, and you can double click on it, and it opens up a whole other set of menus. And any of these menus on the top, the brush menu or anything else, have this little wheel icon, and you can click and drag the wheel and drag it and dock it on the left, or you can dock it on the right. And you can do that with any of these menus at all. And if you want to get rid of a menu, just click one time on that little wheel icon and that menu goes away. And now that we have all of our buttons set up here at the top, we also want to put some of our brush shortcuts. So I'm going to open up my brush menu and I'm going to dock it over here on the left, open up my divider. With our brush menu docked on the left here, it shows a preview of any of the brushes that you've selected recently. So I already have this set up here because I've already opened all these brushes. So you're going to actually have to go through, click on clay, go through, click on clay build up, click on Damien Standard. You'll actually have to go through and just click on each one of those, and then they will appear in your menu here on the side. And then you can just hold Control and Alt and click and drag them down here wherever you want. I like to have at least 3 or 4 of the main brushes that I use all the time, like the clay, the move, clay buildup, etc. H polish is one of my favorite brushes, so I'm definitely going to have that. Flatten brush. So we're just going to play around with these brushes because these are, the clay brush especially and the move brush are the 2 main brushes that we're going to use probably the most. Once you have all of your buttons in place and set up, these are just a few that I use that save me a lot of time, especially when I'm sculpting characters and things. Go back to Preferences, turn Enable Customize off, and it will close the gaps in any space that you aren't using. And you can go into Save UI, and just select the folder on your computer that you want to save that user interface on, and it will actually store all of your buttons like this. And once you have saved it, you can go to store config, and we'll say okay, and that means that you should be good to go. That means that your configuration is stored, and ZBrush will load up this way, the same way, every time that you open it. And of course, if you ever mess up and you totally drag your interface all over the place, or you mess up something and it's gone and you can't find it again, you can always go back to preferences, go to initialize ZBrush, and initialize is going to reset ZBrush back to the factory settings. So you can always go back and hit initialize ZBrush and restore everything back to the way that it was. So I'm going to hit no, but if you ever mess up, you can always go to preferences and initialize the program. So we are all set customizing our interface, and in the next video, we are going to set up our reference images, and I will see you there.